Hello friends, it's Chrissy. So today I wanted to talk about how to choose a deck for tarot study. And I'm creating this specifically for Inner Wands Tarot School, but I thought, I could just broaden this out and, multiple birds, one stone, yada, yada, yada. So I thought I would look at some of the lingo that we talk about in TarotTube that I don't know that we take enough time to explain. So what I'm going to look at today is I'm going to show you some decks that I consider pip decks, that I consider what I call pips with feeling, and then scenic decks. So in the context of what is that? That's yoga block. In the context of Inner Wands Tarot School, if that is why you're here, I am encouraging you to choose a deck that is fully scenic, that is fully illustrated for your study. I think personally, I think fully illustrated decks are a great place to start, to have something to sink your teeth into. If you find a deck that you absolutely fall in love with that is a pips with feeling, that's absolutely great for a first study deck, but I would not suggest that for Inner Wands Tarot School. And then the third type of cards I want to talk about are pips. And we'll start there because pips are the easiest of the three to differentiate, the easiest place to start. So a pip deck is a deck that is very basic, that typically only has the representation. So the Six of Cups has 6 cups. This is the original Kawaii Tarot deck. I know there's a new one out. I don't know how there are 2 tarot decks with the same name, but as far as I know, this one is still in production. The creator has is it spoopy? Maybe it's spooky, but a Halloween themed, a spooky themed deck that looks very similar to this one. Oh my gosh, I love this deck. But again, the 8 of Cups has 8 cups. Oh wait, this deck is interesting because it has cups and coffee cups, and I don't remember which is which. But yeah, not a lot to go on, and even the pages. Let's look for. I do love the 2 of Pentacles. I mean, so there is some reference here, but without context, without having prior knowledge of tarot, there's not a lot of clarity. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten how much I love this deck, friends. I'm not gonna lie. I'm flipping through looking for the majors, but even the majors don't have a ton of context. This would be a very challenging deck to receive intuitive hits from if you don't know much about tarot to begin with. Okay, but look at this Hermit. And the thing that's hard about this deck is the guidebook is phenomenal. Let me go ahead and grab it for you so you'll know what to look for if you decide to get this deck. This is my absolute favorite guidebook that comes with the deck. I may have to actually repurchase this deck. I had started, when I was looking at how I wanted to teach Inner Wands Tarot School originally, I had looked at writing keywords on the cards, and I did that with a couple of these and then decided I didn't like it. So I may be buying a new copy of this deck. I may actually see if Barnes & Noble has it while I'm running errands today because it's just absolutely darling. So the Kawaii Tarot, definite pip deck, questionable place to start a tarot study. Another pip deck that I would not necessarily recommend for the beginner is the Wild Unknown Tarot. So we have Pentacles inside of a nest. I guess we could be pushed to call this Pips with Feeling. again, if you have a tarot framework, we can read into these what they mean. But this being the Nine of Cups, with no prior context, it looks like 9 cups. The Seven of Pentacles, this one would be a stretch for me, even with tarot knowledge. Yeah, the Five of Cups. There's nothing about this horse to me that represents any sort of intuitive hit or clue to traditional meaning of the Five of Cups. So I would consider the Wada Tarot a pip deck. Now, on to what I consider, without question, like the pippest of the pip deck of anything in my collection is the Elemental Power Tarot. This deck is phenomenal. The guidebook of this book, the guidebook for this deck is phenomenal with, this deck is in order, so I'm going to go around a little bit. The majors, they're great for exploring your intuition with the majors. I'll show you an example. Where are you, majors? So the majors kind of put you in the world of the card. It's great for, imagining, going into a meditative state, and like, what would it be like to be in this cabin, to be in there with the hermit, or to be the hermit, the tower. Are we running toward or away from the tower? This is a great deck for meditating, connecting with the majors. But for the minors, it is straight up, like, I'm not even sure, like, I had to like take a second, like, which side is right side up for the Ace of Pentacles. This would be a very challenging deck without prior knowledge of the tarot to make intuitive connection from. So this is why, so these were 3 examples of pip decks, which I would discourage you from choosing as a first study deck. 2 of these I actually pulled out of my Purgatory stack. So then we move into pips with feeling. So if we move like good, better, best, I'm not going to say, look, pip decks are still good. They're just not necessarily good for studying initially, right? So then moving into better, I put it in the category of pips with feeling. So this is where we're still seeing the cards primarily represented by the number of items of that suit, but there are intuitive hits to be had. So let's look first at the Spacious Tarot. And we have a single wand. Okay, we'll give it that. Oh, that was for the Elder of Wands anyway. Here we have the Ace of Wands. We have a single wand. For the Nine of Cups, we have 9 cups around the dandelion. For the Two of Cups, we have 2 cups on lily pads. This deck is absolutely stunningly beautiful, but without prior knowledge of the tarot, I would not think, oh, okay, these 4 wands are celebrating. They're forming a tent. That would not come into my thoughts. The Four of Swords here. I think of the Four of Swords more as a place of rest, where this looks, I would read this card as abandonment if I just looked at it completely intuitively. I mean, the Nine of Swords is total pip with feeling, right? We can understand. I'm sorry, my hair just blew up my eye and it's itching. And I will not remember to edit that out. Just you wait and see. But the Nine of Swords, we can totally feel the nervousness in this rabbit here. Although to me, this feels much more intimidating than the Nine of Swords really is. We can get an intuitive hit here with the Five of Cups and with some of them spilled, but 2 of them being still upright in the back. So pips with feeling. If you know what you're looking for, you can see it in the deck. but it would be hard to make intuitive hits that were even remotely close to the traditional meaning of the card without prior knowledge. And that's really what I'm trying to teach, what I think I actually do a pretty good job teaching in Inner Wands Tarot School, is the interconnectedness of tradition and intuition. The next deck that I would consider Pips with Feeling is the Pagan Otherworlds. So we have 7 cups. There are other things going on that if you know the traditional meaning, if you know the context for this card, you can figure it out. But like, there's nothing about the 6 of Cups that that looks at how we process our childhood or how we use nostalgia, how nostalgia is showing up in our life as something that's propelling us forward or holding us back. Like, we don't, if you know that, you can see it in the scene, right? But if that is not context that you have, this card just looks like 5 pentacles and a tree in the winter. 8 cups and a sad moon, right? When we have context, Pips with Feelings are probably my favorite cards to read, because they give me a little bit of context for the card, but they open it wide up. But I'm also not a beginner, right? So Pips with Feeling are what I'm going to call a better choice for a first time or a deep dive study deck. Not best, but better than straight up Pips. The third deck that I have, that I pulled out for Pips with Feeling is my current silver best friend, which is the, oh my gosh, I love this deck so much, the Tarot with the Drowning World. I love that I show you a major first, but here we have the 5 of Cups. We have 5 cups. Is this a 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and this is not even necessarily a traditional 5 of Cups. We have 4 that are upright and 1, or 4 that are turned over and 1 that is upright, or the other way if you want to look at it. Here we have the 8 of Cups, simply 8 cups. Is there a lot to intuitively read in this card? As an experienced or intermediate reader, yeah. As a beginner, it's a big, wait, what is going on here? And also the majors are trippy. And the deck is also in French. Fantastic guidebook. Guidebook, of course, has been, I'm assuming it was written in English. I don't think it was translated. It was written in English, but the deck itself, the majors and the names of the majors, the names of the minors, and the suits are in French. So yeah, without context, this is a 10 of Swords. So Pips with Feeling. I mean, you could do it. You could do a deep dive as a into the structure, into the relationship with the deck with the Pips with Feelings deck. But just be aware that there will be a lot more study and maybe not as much intuition if you're new or new-ish to tarot. Now, my favorite type of decks to use for a deep dive study are scenic illustrated decks. The first one that I have is the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is a Borderless Centennial. With the minors, there are lots of things going on. We can see that there's a conversation here between 3 people and they're dressed differently. So we can read into that. These are 3 people with different different skill sets coming together to work together toward a common goal. We have a knight here. We have a horse that is steady. He's facing direction. He's holding the pinnacle to guide him. We have the celebration tent where you can see the people behind that are having a party for the Four of Wands. I'm flipping through the majors because typically most majors have enough content in most decks. Although not in the original Kawaii Tarot, interestingly enough. Most decks have enough information to make to bring intuitive hits from the majors. But the Two of Pentacles, we have plenty to look at here. We have the figure who is balancing, juggling two figures. We have these rocky seas in the background. The Five of Wands, we have the fight. The Nine of Cups, that's right, the Nine of Cups. We have the fella sitting underneath all of his wine. We have the stressed out overnight figure in the Nine of Swords. There's just so much in the Nine of Wands. We have this guy at this fence and like, how effective is this really? There's story inside of the minors. And I guess I could have even gone back. So when I'm talking about the types of cards, the majors are the cards that typically have Roman numerals on them that represent a character. The courts are the page, knight, queen, king of each suit. And then what we call the minors are the numbers. So the number of court, the Three of Swords, the Nine of Cups. Yeah, so for study, especially for beginner, if you consider yourself like wanting to learn more about the structure of tarot, fully illustrated minors. Another deck I love for this is the Guided Hand Tarot. We have the Eight Swords with the lady that's bound. We have, wow. Oh, this was my reading for yesterday. This is the reading I did in Drive Through Tarot. I'm like, these three cards together look familiar. It's because Chrissy just stacked them on top. We have the Seven of Wands with Seven of Swords with gathering the swords and leaving some behind. I mean, I just have to show you the Knight of Pentacles because the Knight of Pentacles is a hippo, and I love hippos. I love hippos. This is happy. I actually just kind of love happy, not hippos in general. For the Ten of Pentacles, we can see a family celebration. For the Four of Cups, we can see someone ignoring three cups and choosing one. This is my favorite Ten of Wands in any deck. We have this lady carrying a big old load, carrying her groceries in one trip, come hell or high water. So these are these are fully illustrated or scenic pips. And then you know, I was going to show, I'm going to show Dream Vision, but now this was the deck this was the deck that I studied, that I worked with in the first round of Inner Wands Tarot School, and I had originally put this in the scenic pips scenic category, and now I'm thinking this really could walk the line between scenic, fully illustrated, and pips with feeling. But I think that's because of the art design of the deck. I'm going to call this fully illustrated. And if anybody wants to argue with me and say these are pips with feelings, I would say, okay, that's valid. So I guess I'm going to use Dream Vision to show that sometimes this is not a clearly delineated category. But it's all majors. This deck is, I guess, close to order. So for the Two of Wands, oh my gosh, we had the two wands and the character walking through the doorway between them. I'm gonna hold steady that these are, wow, so many majors. The Seven of Wands, how we hold, how we carry, what we have. All of the majors are right up here in the front. The Five of Pentacles with the character here looking overwhelmed. We have the 10 of Pentacles holding so many blessings, so many good things. We have the 6 of Cups, looking at past memories, knowing that what we're in now is fleeting, with the experience of the flowers in the cups. By the way, there is the second edition of this deck is now active on Kickstarter. I am not ordering the new edition, one, because there aren't enough differences. The gilding is different, but also because I am super bonded to this deck and I would not use a new version. But here for the 4 of Wands, we have the building of the tent where the celebration is happening. For the 9 of Wands, is this really worth the efforts to hold this, to balance this? For the 3 of Wands, we can see where we're going, but are we waiting for the sunrise? Are we waiting for the sunset? The movement of the sun has something to do with that. We have the 6 of Pentacles with the character holding and balancing what he's giving and what he's receiving. I'm going to stop because I could one more. The 3 of Cups, we have the 3 figures that are celebrating, that are together. So I would consider this a fully illustrated deck. I would recommend this deck wholeheartedly if it resonates with you for deeper study. But I can also see how it could be, and again, I would not argue with a no, Chrissy. The dream vision is a pip with feeling. Okay, I'd give you that too. So this was my good, better, best for choosing a deck for Inner Ones Tarot School that I'm just going to go ahead and share with YouTube as well, and thinking about good, better, best for choosing a deck to study. If you haven't done a deep dive of a study deck before, or if you haven't done a deep dive deck study before, those words came out in the wrong order. Or if you're brand new to tarot and want to be able to balance both the traditional meaning and your intuitive take on a card. So that's what I've got for today. I hope you have a lovely day. I'm going to run and pick up a tomato pie I'm very excited about. Have a great day. I'll see you all soon.